Miami, your reputation at Miami was pristine. One that inherited an awful situation and turned it into one of the best ones. It has to wound you then that your reputation takes a hit, at least somewhat, by osmosis with this situation.
Yeah. All I can do, Joe, is like do the best you can with your players. We'll start again in 2 weeks, and we'll start educating the kids about future ways to make good decisions on and off the field. And the one thing I can tell you is that there's no single person, including everybody at this table, me included, that doesn't make a mistake. And people make mistakes, and you either learn from them, you use those mistakes to help educate the guys that haven't made mistakes, the new incoming freshmen, and you love them, and you just keep moving on.
Butch, what did you see from the start of the off season all the way through what you know about happening in the summer that's different from the teams you've had at Carolina before, because you've got a lot of guys with experience and older kids now?
Well, I'll go back to spring practice. I think that for the first time we're getting a little bit of a byproduct of some of the older kids having enough confidence in their own abilities to be able to share an awful lot of things with some of the younger kids, of guys talking to guys and saying, here's a way to watch film, here's a way to look at coverages, here's a way to look at pre-snap reads. I mean, you're getting a lot of the little nuances that really help a kid grow during the course of the spring, because those older kids have been, some of these guys have played in over 30 games. I mean, they've got a tremendous amount of wealth of experience, and they're confident enough in their own abilities that now they can go and share some of that stuff with some of the other guys.
Yesterday, TJ said that he's become a better quarterback and a better leader because of the challenge that he's gotten from Bryn. What is the dynamic between those two, and how do you see that competition turning out here? I mean, how do you shaking out?
I think that's probably a pretty accurate statement. I mean, I think TJ took Bryn under his wing when Bryn was a true freshman, brought him in, sat with him watching film, talked to him about the scheme, talked to him about the offense, talked to him about the reads. Their relationship and the dynamics of that relationship are probably ideally the way you'd like it on your entire football team. I hope we have that kind of position competition where guys have to play extraordinarily well to keep their job. And I don't care if you're a first-year starter or a third-year starter. If we're going to be very good now or in the future, you're going to have position competition. And we didn't have that, to be honest with you. We almost had none of that in 07. Very little of it in 08, and marginally some in 09. But in 010 and 011, and as we move forward, I hope that guys, because this is what I know, that if TJ Yates is the starting quarterback this season, he can play real good because somebody's pushing him to become an excellent player. And you hope that you have that kind of same situation at all 22 positions.
What made you decide, what are the factors that made you decide to move Jonathan Cooper inside to center, and how good can that kid be?
I think he can be outstanding. He's got great lateral movement. He's got really excellent upper body strength. He can get to the second level. He's got enough speed that linebackers can't just run away from him. When we looked at him, he's versatile enough because he certainly started at guard. He could play either of the two guard positions, but I think ideally, physically suited center is the perfect place for him. He's a very, very bright and smart kid, and it was baptism under fire last year getting some of those guys at offensive center. When we lost Lowell Dyer, we lost a kid that had started for a couple of years to understand schemes, understand the protections, understand how to help make the line calls to identify where people were, and I think that now Jonathan's gained some of that confidence that he'll be able to play that position much better.
What are you expecting from TJ in terms of rebound? Because he had such a tough season.
Sure. Yeah, smarter, wiser decisions, and not feeling like, I think taking the pressure off of himself a little bit of not feeling like you got to be the guy that's got to go out and win every single game. He's had some spectacular performances for us. So there's games that we wouldn't have won had he not played the way that he played. I mean, the poise that he showed in the fourth quarter against UConn on the road against a very good defensive football team. If he doesn't play good, we're going to get beat. We're going to lose that game. And the offensive line wasn't playing very good. Nobody had made very many plays for him during the course of the day. He hadn't played particularly well, but I think his leadership, I think his maturity showed up in the fourth quarter of that game and allowed him to play well. He needs to just go out and I don't want to say, because I don't think that it's an accurate statement, I don't think any quarterback, you just go out and manage the game, you know. But you got to go out and you got to make the plays that present themselves. You got to make the plays that you're capable of making. You got to smartly and wisely distribute the ball and get it in the hands of guys that can make plays for you.
How much is it going to help him to have a little bit more experience at the wide receiver position than last year?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, it was, if you talk to Eric Highsmith and you talk to Jay Boyd and you talk to some of those guys, and even Greg Little for that matter, because it was really the first year that he was a full-time wide receiver every day in practice all season long. They can't, for the first time they found out they didn't know what they didn't know. Because the three kids that had graduated the year before had been the starters for basically 3 seasons, and nobody else had played. And, Eric Highsmith, now you talk to him in spring practice about this coverage, this leverage, this safety rotation, this type of release, this kind of stance, pre-snap read on a corner. He didn't have a clue what we were telling him back in August and September in games. It was all just go out and hopefully God-given athletic ability allowed him to make some plays. And he got better during the course of the season, but not as much as he's probably gotten better in the last 4 months.
Could you talk a little bit more about Eric? Because TJ told us you're going to use a lot of formations and motions and put him in different positions, and he has to learn not just how to play one, but he said he's challenging him every day to make sure he's up on all the positions.
I think that's one of the things that we would like to try to be able to accomplish offensively is to be able, John Shoup and myself have, some of the roots are rooted into Joe Gibbs and Bill Walsh, who were they were the first people to realize that personnel groupings and mismatching by moving guys around in formations and where to try to create better matchups that you would like to have. If you just break the huddle and you stay in the same static formation 65 snaps during the course of the ball game, you're a fool. And, but by moving guys around, whether it's motion shifts, putting them in certain positions, hopefully you can create those things. Now, you add a tremendous amount of learning goes on their plate, and young kids they couldn't do that. Hopefully these guys can do it next year.
What is it about him that makes him one of the prime candidates to do it?
He certainly is one of them. He's got excellent hands. He's got good body position. You saw bits and glimpses of some of the things that he could do last year. There were some games that he made some really, really outstanding catches. There's some things that, that physically his body has changed dramatically. When you come to media day, one of the things that's going to impress you or change your opinion of him is he's about 25 pounds heavier than he was a year ago. And I think subsequently, besides being bigger and stronger, he's going to be faster than he was a year ago, just because of the off-season speed work that he did with our conditioning staff.
And Houston didn't practice in the spring.
He did not.
Do you anticipate him
Absolutely
being there August 6th?
Absolutely.
No doubt about it.
No doubt about it.
Butch, how about
I didn't hear you.
Carl Gaskins and AJ
Yeah. Well, Carl's full go. He's 100%. AJ will be able to start on August the 6th doing some things, and he's already doing everything in our OTAs and our off-season conditioning program. The time when he can actually get hit and take a hit will be kind of a week-to-week basis. We want to go out and we want to find out, practicing twice a day, is there going to be an additional swelling with his knee and stuff? But he has made remarkable strides. He's a kid that I think silently within our program, I think every guy in our staff and our program is pulling for him because, I don't know that I've seen any kid work any harder on a rehab and program than what he's done to try to get himself back healthy.
Butch, a couple of your players have already pulled their Twitter pages down. Is that voluntary or is that a rule? Do you have any kind of new rules about what you post and what you say and what you don't?
No, but we do seminars with our team as part of our life skills program. We do things with our football program, with our players' development, and talk about social media and social networking. And as nice as some of it is, I mean, some of it certainly can be something that can definitely be a negative to individuals. And when we get back together as a team, we're going to talk about it again when the team gets back together. I hadn't had a chance to talk to them, in months.
Yeah. Do you think that Twitter and Facebook and that kind of thing has become a new NCAA investigative tool that that's how they find out about things like that and get inquisitive about things like that?
That'd be a great question to ask them. I don't know. I don't know what they think.
Is the agent temptation type thing threat, is that a constant whenever you have a bunch of good prospects going back to however and
Sure.
all the years you're coaching, or is it any more so in recent years?
I know if you're going 1-11, you probably don't have many agent issues.
Since you were just talking about injured players, I'm sure you're waiting for this question from me. He's laughing.
Yeah.
How's Ryan Taylor going to fit in this year?
You know
What's
what?
he going to do?
Well, certainly two things that hurt. I think it hurt a little bit of our entire team last year. The two most dynamic special teams players we had were Ryan Taylor and Matt Merletti. They were the captains of our team. They were the most productive players in 2008, and we lost both of them for the season last year. So certainly getting them back from that standpoint provides leadership, get your two captains back, and guys that are significant contributors. What we would like to see out of Ryan is we want to see him play some at H-back and some, a little bit maybe in the backfield. He's got very good hands, and he's a tough kid. He's a competitive kid. There'll be some things that we'll try to create to get him involved.
Is there any lingering problem, pain, anything with? Because it seemed like it just kept on all last season.
Well, it was a total.